Hello and welcome to Miss Hannah Loves Grammar. In this video we'll be answering the question, how can you show possession when plurals don't end in an S? I suppose it's important to recognise at this point that not all words that are plurals naturally or correctly end with an S. Let me give you a few words that follow that phenomenon of not ending in an S when they are in their plural. Feet, men, women, children, sheep, teeth, people, and fish, or if you were really trying to show that you knew the alternative that does end in an S, you would say fishes. Just as when you're indicating possession, these words end with an apostrophe S added at the end of the word. But because they already associate with the plural, we don't need to add an S to them. That would be completely wrong. So let me give you an example. Leave the children's sweets in the bowl on the dining room table. Because I'm dealing with a multitude of children already, I don't add an S onto the word children. Instead, I put an apostrophe and an S. It would be wrong to write children's with an apostrophe after the S, as the plural of child is children, so we're already dealing with that. Next up, the fish's problem is pollution in the sea that they swim in. It's important to consider here that if I said fishes spelt with the ES, that is equally accurate. The fundamental truth is, if it doesn't end in an S, we just add an apostrophe, then the S, to show that the problem is for the fishes. Or in the previous example, that the sweets belong to the children. Finally, women's rights were fought for decades ahead of the 1918 vote being granted. So here, the rights belong to the women, not just a singular woman. Hence why I put an apostrophe and an S. After all, those rights of women belong to them. So it's really the same business of adding an apostrophe and an S, but we don't need to worry about adding an S because we're dealing with a plural, because these words don't require that. They are already in their plural form for us. Now it's your turn. For each of the three sentences, consider if they're accurate as they are. Hit pause if you need thinking time. So, how did you get on? Sheep's teeth deteriorate when they graze more frequently. So sheep is both the plural and the singular when we refer to it. But it's clearly taking the plural form, when it says they graze, because it's referring to more than one sheep when we use that pronoun they. So this sentence is correct to have an apostrophe and an S added after sheep, taking the plural form there. Next up, men's priorities are no different to women's values. We can tell from the exclamation mark this person is incredibly passionate about what they're saying. But we can also tell that we're referring to both men and women, so more than one of each gender. So the possession is key here. The priorities belong to the men, the values belong to the women, and as accordance with that, we have an apostrophe and an S to simplify this process. So this is also correct to have both apostrophes for men and women respectively. Finally, feet are much more impressive than they look. As you can understand here, we are not dealing with a possessive at all. We are just dealing with a plural, that of feet. So we don't need an apostrophe because we're not dealing with anything possessive. Ultimately, it's pretty breezy when we're dealing with plurals that don't end in an S. They're quite specific and worth learning so that you don't trip over with the wrong use of the apostrophe. Why not subscribe to Miss Hannah Loves Grammar for all things English, literary and grammatical?